You know that feeling, watching a huge snowstorm from inside your warm house? The whole world just goes silent, covered in white. It feels, well, it feels safe, peaceful. But that silence, that beautiful white veil, it can hide things. So tonight, we're going to pull back that veil and look at 3 true stories of when the calm, quiet beauty of winter became the backdrop for pure terror.
It's a question you really hope you never have to answer for yourself. But for the people in these stories, the storm wasn't just some weather event. It was cover. It was a perfect camouflage for threats they never, ever saw coming. So what happens when the real danger isn't the storm itself, but what's moving through it?
So our first story, it starts in the one place you are supposed to feel completely secure. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying threats are the ones that find a way to get inside.
Okay, so picture this. Our narrator is a 28-year-old guy working late from his home office right before Christmas. He's just watching the snow pile up, feeling all cozy and thankful he doesn't have to be out driving in that mess. I mean, it's a scene any of us can relate to, right? A quiet night in while a blizzard just howls outside. But that feeling of safety is about to be completely shattered.
The dread here, it builds really slowly. Around 7 p.m., he sees a flashlight beam moving around outside. Kind of weird, but he just brushes it off. Maybe a neighbor. For the next 2 hours, the house is just groaning and creaking with the storm, until a loud thud echoes from inside the house. It's a sound his gut immediately tells him is not the storm. He checks it out but finds nothing. Then, just 10 minutes later, as he's heading back upstairs, click.
And just like that, everything goes black. I'm not talking dim, I'm talking absolute suffocating darkness. The blizzard outside is so thick that not a single shred of light is getting through the windows. He is completely blind inside his own home. And that quote really drives it home, doesn't it? Just imagine that feeling. You're standing on your own staircase, completely and utterly blind. His first thought is maybe the storm just tripped the breaker, so he starts to feel his way downstairs, towards the basement door.
As he gets close, he hears it, a muffled sound from behind the basement door, and then the door creaks open. Someone is in the house with him. He slips silently into a nearby bathroom as these quiet footsteps come out and walk right past the open doorway, just feet away from him. He can't see a thing. The footsteps head upstairs, and he knows this is his one and only chance. He makes a blind, desperate run for the garage, gets to his car, and gets out of there.
But here's the part that will absolutely give you chills, what the police found later. The intruder didn't just wander around or steal things. They moved with purpose through the pitch-black house, went directly upstairs to his office where he had just been working, and then went to his bedroom. This wasn't random. Someone he knew, someone who knew his routine and the layout of his home, used that storm as perfect cover to come for him.
Okay, so our next story shifts gears. We move from the false security of a home to the total vulnerability of the open road, where a blizzard forces a traveler to take shelter with complete strangers.
This time, our narrator is driving to his sister's place in Montana when a blizzard just hits out of nowhere. The snow becomes a total whiteout. He can barely see the road in front of him. So he pulls into the very first place he sees, a tiny, isolated cafe on the side of the road. All he wants is a cup of coffee and a place to wait for the storm to pass. He walks in, and right away, the vibe is just off. It's dead quiet. There are 2 other guys sitting at the bar, not saying a word. He notices that one of them, an older man, has this strange, half-dead look about him. Our narrator grabs the coffee and tries to ignore that uneasy feeling. That little warning bell in your head. He just chalks it up to being an out-of-place city person. Over the next few minutes, both men get up and leave, one after the other. But about half an hour later, our narrator glances out the window and sees that both of their cars are still parked outside, but the men are gone. I mean, where could they have gone in the middle of a blizzard? A chill runs down his spine. He decides it is definitely time to go, but when he gets to his car, he turns the key and nothing. The car is completely dead. He scrambles back inside, locks the door, and calls 911. So, when the police arrive, they follow these faint tracks leading into the woods behind the cafe. And there, they find him, the body of the other man who had left the cafe.
And that's when the police put the whole terrifying picture together. 2 cars had their ignition lines deliberately cut, the victims and our narrators. The man with the half-dead look had used the storm for an ambush. He disabled his target's car,
waited for him to come outside, and then attacked. And then he cut our narrator's ignition line. He was next.
All right, for our final story, we're looking at a different kind of trap entirely. One where a normal everyday job gets twisted into a lure, pulling someone deep into a really dangerous situation.
This one's about a DoorDash driver on a snowy night. He gets an order that takes him down this remote forest road to a driveway that's just completely snowed in. There are no lights, no house in sight, just dark, imposing woods. It's a classic dilemma. The customer wants his food, but the driver has no safe way to get it to him.
So he calls the customer, who hits him back with this snarky, guilt-tripping line. He's basically pressuring the driver, making him feel like he's failing at his job. And so against his better judgment, against every single instinct screaming that this is a terrible idea, the driver gets out of his car and starts walking into the darkness with the food.
As he's walking, a single, distant crunch of a boot in the snow makes him freeze. Totally unsettled, he tries calling the customer again. And as the phone is ringing, he sees it, a little flicker of light deep in the trees. And then the call drops. That's it. He turns and sprints back to his car, only to find one of his tires has been slashed. The trap was sprung. He was being lured into those woods, and now his escape route was gone.
So, okay, 3 completely different stories, 3 terrifying situations. But underneath it all, there is one powerful connecting thread that runs through every single one of them.
Think about it. In every single one of these cases, survival came down to one thing: listening to that small voice in their head. The homeowner realized that thud was wrong. The driver in the cafe felt that the atmosphere was off. The food courier knew deep down that walking into that dark forest was a huge mistake. They all trusted their instincts.
And that's really the big takeaway here. The winter storm created the isolation, the darkness created all the confusion, but it was instinct that created an escape. When you're alone and something feels wrong, even if you can't logically explain why, that feeling is data. It's your brain processing all these subtle cues that your conscious mind might have missed.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. We tend to think of silence as safety, as peace. But these stories teach us that sometimes the most important thing to do in the quiet is to listen really closely, not just to the world around you, but to the warnings that are coming from within.